9 o'clock, call the meeting in order, stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see here. I gotta, change the agenda a little bit, the, human resources DDA presentation. It says closed, that will be open. Anybody else have anything else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second,
Second.
any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a motion? We get a second?
Second.
Any discussion on any of the minutes? If not, approve the motion by signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Just confirmation, Bill, was that you that seconded?
Yep.
Warrants were sent out.
You bought a water heater, was there no warranty on that? House for this building?
7 years out, isn't it? Haven't we been in this building about 7 years?
Is it the tank?
Yep. We gotta provide that to the county.
No, I understand that, but I think, I don't want to hear it.
No, they don't last. You can. Who knows? I mean, there could have been something that went on whether, you know. When they first, you charge up the building or something like that, you got some air into it or something, and, you know. Expanded it a little bit or, you know what I'm saying there? I mean, they didn't feel it slow.
Is it electric?
Yes. No, take that back. What is it, Tina? I don't know if it's electric or gas, but it's in there. I didn't look at it close enough. I just look at the bottom, make sure the water ain't running out of them.
You know, one of those marathons that,
REA dishes out.
you know,
How big a heater is it?
It's big. It's like, you know, one of the size of a marathon. But it isn't the marathon breed. I don't know. That was plenty expensive. We're not tied to REA here. City of Lake doesn't supply them like REA does.
I mean, if we could spend $4,700 and some dollars in 7 years, I don't know what the more, I guess, but it obviously wasn't asked.
Must have been leaking, I didn't see it, but I did see them when the crews was out here and they were running in and out of the door, that's all I see. I have to believe it's propane, Ken.
Yeah.
Because the off-peak rate on electricity here is not the thing to do, to heat water. Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to pay the bills.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Any more discussion on any of the bills? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Environmental services?
So I don't know if I actually need to formally come up and sit with you guys, but. The number of times I do this is getting shorter, so I thought, what the heck, right?
I guess.
Huh? So you guys did get my letter, I assume, right? Tina sent it forward to you. And so I'm not gonna read it or anything, but I just
Did you
wanna,
have a letter or
what's that?
you had a letter or?
Yeah, yeah,
But then you signed it.
huh? Yeah, I signed it, it's official. So I just, you know, I know we talked at the last board meeting whether. I was gonna be doing this, so I thought it'd be appropriate to put it in writing so you guys can transition and move forward, so. That's all this letter was intended to do, is just let you guys know that August 29th will be my official last date. I've applied for Social Security and working with PRA, so can't hardly turn back now, right? So that's all this is just to officially inform you guys, and like I said in the letter, it's been a good run. But I really, part of the reason why I'm doing this just a little early is just to help with that transition with the office and moving forward, so. That's the intent,
So you'll be around for questions.
yep.
Questioning or question?
Both.
Both.
Well, I don't know, I got a project down in Doyle's district that I am working pretty hard on with 5 Mile Creek, so. That's been fits and jerks, but I'm still working pretty diligently on trying to make something come together and see if we can't help the boys down in Herman area. So, yeah, so that's all, so.
I think we should recognize that after 32 years, obviously your service, but also the fact that you were part of the succession plan and moving forward. And I think I want to commend you for that.
Oh, yeah, whatever. That's not why I'm sitting here. I just wanted to.
And.
Yeah.
And then when do we have the group hug?
I suppose I prefer doing it one-on-one.
I don't know when that's gonna be, but it will be after 4 p.m.
Yes. No, thank you. But yeah, so that's nothing formal. I just wanted to acknowledge that it's happening, so.
I think we need to, and I will make a motion to accept the retirement notice. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. It's been good.
I'll second that motion and thank you again.
Yep, no problem.
A motion, the second, any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank
There you
you.
go, no problem.
Thank you.
Yep, okay.
I've still got some rocks to pick too, by the way.
Well, yeah, well,
We're gonna have-
as long as the gator's running,
You'll have time, right?
yeah, I will.
So you're gonna work on 5 Mile Creek for free then? No,
You know, it's gonna be,
they ain't gonna be done for that.
no, but the wheels are in motion. We're trying,
Good.
so.
I
it's
think the
good.
rooms will be tickled,
Yeah, heck yeah, we're trying.
along with everybody else.
All right. Well, next time, guys.
John, Jen?
They have the packet, the paper, and then I do have the presentation up here. Before we get into that, okay, just have that. Okay, you just tell me what you need to do. Okay, I'll try not to screw it up.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
So we just wanted to give you kind of a heads up, or do you want to start with that?
No.
On the body worn camera grant that we received, from the Bureau of Justice, which is a federal grant. Not saying that we're at a standstill, but we're trying to finalize the product. So in the meantime, of researching different projects, John and I had to approve the policy for the body worn camera into, our jurisdiction. So going forward, we will have to, per state statute, there is, it says that we have to have, the agency must accept public comments submitted electronically, and the governing body with jurisdiction over the budget of the agency must provide an opportunity to provide public comment at a regular scheduled meeting. So once we finalize the product, then we can go ahead and have this, the public comment. We also made up a letter and a survey for the people that can't have a QR code or doesn't want to do the survey online. I have made a letter and a survey on paper. Yeah.
Do we have a way to do that online comment?
So, well, through this survey, that would be the online comment. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you have the means for the electronic comments,
Yes.
okay.
Yep, and it's a free app and,
Okay,
kind of like,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, but it does say that we have to have a public open
Yep,
meeting hearing.
Yes, just like the drone.
Yeah.
Stuff that we had when we implemented that program.
And then I also said that for the grant and part of my goals and objectives, I would go to each city council and kind of educate the city council of, what the body worn camera grant is, and then I also give them the letter. So if anybody from their community wants to physically fill out the form, they can pick it up at the city, and then I'll get it back. So I guess we can go to researching the specific product that we're gonna incorporate. So naturally, we just went through Motorola, because that is what we were using for our in-squad cameras. And with the need to update our in-squad cameras and other equipment, we looked into several other agencies, I should say, or
Other vendors.
vendors, yes.
As as you recall, when we first presented regarding this grant that we would have never expected to get, and it needs to be reiterated that again, we were reminded, or Jen was reminded that agencies like New York City PD were ones that generally receive this federal grant, and how it was that Little Grant County got it is kind of beyond them, but we did. So if you recall, we started out the conversation for the body worn cameras. And we're looking at Motorola. Motorola actually bought WatchGuard, which was a separate entity itself. And so we just continued with Motorola because of our current WatchGuard system, which they owned. And I'll let you go from there with Motorola. So,
Yeah, so with what our department needs and for our, our specific procedures, we found that Motorola wasn't able to offer everything that we needed, especially when it came to redaction programming. With our data request, that is very time consuming, and it costs a lot of money. So we found that they couldn't offer what we currently need. So then I continued to work with different vendors, just trying to get a quote to seeing what, or what product that would be the best for us. So I looked into, Motorola, we looked into GTAC, which is, I don't know. They could offer the in-squad cameras and body worn cameras, but they really couldn't give me a great demo on what the product was. The redaction was par. I mean, nothing extravagant. I think it would take a lot of work for redaction. So I did receive a quote for them, which we think is quite high, just for what they're offering, and there's no updates in any technology that they could provide. So then I did look out to Axon, and a lot of agencies are trying to go on, or there are going with contracting with Axon. And we did find that they could offer everything that our agency needs. And so just like technology is, it's just now becoming prevalent. And maybe we're a little bit behind the ball, but all of this computers and software, everything has to be updated. And I think that Axon did a really great job of incorporating like their lifespan, updating it 2.5, 5, 7.5, or whatever it might be. So if we can start the PowerPoint, and I think, do you guys have it in your packet as well?
We do.
Yeah. Right. So what our office is in need of, we need to update our in-squad cameras. They're eight-ish years old. And then our tasers are quite outdated as well.
You just tell me.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead. So through the Axon programming, they have an officer safety plan 10 with an AI bundle. And so what we're looking at is a 5 or 10-year contract. And jump in whenever.
yeah, go ahead.
Their contracts they have like a suggestion of like the 5 and 10 year written or broken out into each year. And all they really need is 10% the first year. They're willing, like the vendor that's working with me right now, the salesman, he is just for smaller agencies. So they know that, budgeting issues, so like they can work with us, whatever that might need. We just need 10% the first year. You can go ahead. So with the 5 and 10 year contracts, that would include 9 fleet, 3 in-car systems, So currently, we have 11 vehicles, but there's only 9 of us, or 9 deputies that have the in-squad camera system. That would include the cradle point routers. So I don't know if you're familiar with what a cradle point router is. Right now, we're using our VPNs to get access, and we have a lot of dead areas. So we are losing connections. So with that cradle point router, it's actually a router in your squad car, and it's almost guaranteed that we will never lose service. So that alone is a huge deal, because if we lose service, we lose everything. We can't use our computers, so actually everything that is electronic would go through the router system.
How far away can you be from that router?
Good question. I can get
Um,
back to you.
don't know, and then my question on that is that, does that replace our jetpacks to lessen our Verizon bill?
Yes. And then a full system refresh at year 5 and 10. So if we went with the 5-year program at year 5, you would get a whole new system. And then, whatever, or at 10. Yep. So, the next big item is TASER 10 with the certification plan. So, right now we have XPs, X26s, X26.
X26 and X26Ps.
Yep, and since then they came out with another TASER, and now the newest is TASER 10. So now with this bundle, it's a certification plan, so they would send our officer to be trained, which we've already done, so they said that they would give us money back. But this bundle includes all the duty and training cartridges over the contract term. And we can go more into specifics, exactly what a TASER 10 is, because like Dwight, I know you would be interested.
Not gonna demonstrate it.
Yeah, I was gonna
No.
say, who's gonna be any good, this kid?
And then the next big ticket item is the body worn cameras. So it is cloud storage, and so it's unlimited storage. It's a full hardware and refresh at 2.5 years and 5 years, or 7.5 or 10, depending on if we do the 5-year contract or 10-year. And then it locks in the pricing, depending on whatever plan that we choose. So. Do you wanna go ahead? Yes. So neighboring agencies using Axon, this is growing. So Otter Tail County just signed a 10-year contract, Perm, Norman County, Stevens County did a 10-year contract. Douglas County, State Patrol, obviously, DNR. Benson and Swift County and Douglas County.
I understand that some of those agencies may be using part of or multiple pieces of Axon, so some may just be using the TASER, some, like with DNR, their TASER and body worn cameras. Otter Tail is TASER, body worn camera, and squad cams. So there's a lot of different variations of who's using what, but it's becoming more and more with Axon that agencies are moving on to them.
So just a little bit about the body worn camera. It has like a 12 to 15 hour battery span, and that will we also receive another extra battery for each officer. You can charge it in the squad or at home, obviously. I guess that would be I think that's good for that one. So key features, low light performance, so there's lighting on them. We can turn them off if we need to be, stealth mode, or turn it on if we need light. It has a clear back frame, so for playback. The full shift battery, they're made to be rugged. They're simple to use and display. The security is great with evidence.com is where everything would be uploaded to. It's a rapid recharge and upload, so. Right now, when we use any camera, like our in-squad cameras, we have to go back to the office in a specific spot to upload all of our video. Having that router system, it'll upload immediately because it's routers right there. So that will be nice for officers who are wanting to type their report. They can play back what they just, just performed and see it right there. So I think it'll be less time having to go to the office, download the video. It's uploaded immediately. The Axon View and Axon Device Manager, which is getting kind of into the redaction. The video recall and bi-directional communication. So anybody that comes into our area that uses Axon, it'll alert the other agency that, like, if you have DNR on a call with us, it'll alert our office that there's another Axon person that's there. So if we need that video, we can quickly get it. Yeah, so it's, they have a really good product. They really know what they're doing. Just for helping out agencies, like if something massive happened, we're gonna have a lot of guys here. Well, if they come from Ottertail, Douglas, Stevens, we're gonna quickly get all the information that we need.
And that shows up on their computers in their cars, if they know somebody's there, or is it back in the office?
I think it's back in the office. Yep.
So right now, a lot of the agencies that we currently work with are, Minnesota State Patrol, BCA, and also the DNR, they all have, their wear requirements when it comes to their Axon cameras, so they always have them and always have them on. And so that's an example of the bi-directional use or notifications for that system in case we're all out in the scene and who's available for the recordings.
How would you access that information now?
We'd have to call and, try to find the person that can get the.
Yeah, if we'll use State Patrol, for example, if we were out on a call with State Patrol and their body worn cameras were activated and then we needed that footage for some reason, we'd have to contact their central office to make a request. They would have to burn a copy onto a thumb drive or DVD or through SFTP program to electronically get it to us.
So they've jumped into the AI. So AI obviously is becoming predominantly useful, yet scary sometimes what AI can do. So with this AI package in the 5 or 10 year, they have different AI programs that if we contracted, like for the 5 or 10 year plan, anything new that they come up with will also be included for that full 10 years at that same price. So just this year, they came out with 4 extra ones that aren't even on here yet. But what AI can do is astronomical. Like if with the touch of a button on our body worn cameras, it can help transcribe. So we can talk and listen and it'll play back to us whatever that person was trying to say. And then if I need to talk in Spanish, I say what I need to say, and then it'll relate it back.
In whatever language.
In whatever language, yep. And there's not, I think, yep. So just that alone is great because there's been lots of times where we have to use our Google app.
Or Google Translate, or we have to physically get a translator on the phone to translate for us.
Which
It'd
is
be awful handy that they don't even know what's happening.
right. And it's just the touch of a button and they can do it, yeah. The draft one is the report writing, so it can help lessen the officer's time for like drafting reports. It's based on factual information that whatever you talked or whatever you spoke into the body worn camera, it'll write it all out for you. So all you have to do is just proofread it and add the names. Real-time translation, no more having to have a dispatcher, transcribe anything. It also has policy chat, which I do think is a great thing. If an officer has a question about what our specific policy is, you can ask the policy chat and it'll tell you what our policy is. Right now, we'd have to go into Lexipol, download the procedure book, and then you'd have to find it, for that. So I think policy chat will help immensely, maybe cut down on some phone calls at night. And the smart detection speeds up the evidence review by finding and following human forms and video. So that again is the redaction period or portion of this. It's so smart of what it can do. I can just say, like, this guy, I need to be covered, for redaction purposes. It'll redact his face throughout the whole video. If you don't want our squad computers to be in there, well, taken out, it can hide the voice,
License plates.
license plates, I mean, whatever it is, it can do it. Capture the brief one. It'll help, like on bigger cases, we typically have to spend hours making a PowerPoint to present to, the federal prosecuting attorneys or our assistant county or the AG's office or to Justin, if we have larger cases. Brief one will analyze the whole case for us. So that'll cut down a lot of time. And then the form one is, it'll help utilize the data being pulled from other body worn camera audio transcripts. Next. This is the taking again.
My experience using draft one really blew me away. The normal report, your thefts, your shopliftings, your damaged property reports, it really does a good job of breezing through.
Come on this job wanting to make an impact, you don't come on this job wanting impact reports. So this AI feature, I'm super excited about it.
When we introduce new technology, there's obviously a skepticism on, this is something I have to learn, this is change, I don't necessarily like this, I like the way I'm doing it now. But once they use the technology, they see how beneficial it is to their day-to-day operations, and then there's buy-in.
I logged in, I had the narrative, and I wanted to see just how it was gonna do in summarizing that report. And all these little minute details was all in there, very thorough and very eloquently done. There were a few things that we had to edit, but I would say it probably wrote 90% of that first report. That's probably a 25 to 30 minute long report. You hit the narrative button and it cranks something out in a few seconds. It does force you to go through the report to make sure that you agree with everything that's written.
We make sure we're checking our work when we do the AI report writing, but ultimately it is a clean process, and some of the reports that we've seen are, maybe better than our officers are right.
What I'm most looking forward to is the increased efficiency that this technology provides from line level all the way up to commander level.
There's a plethora of things that we can do with that extra hour or 2 hours in a 12-hour period.
Ultimately, we are here to serve the community, and this helps with that job.
Good, next one. So this is pertaining again to draft one. Reduction in report writing time, which I think will help lessen our overtime. If there's a big case, it's probably 3 to 4 hours of overtime for just report writing, trying to get it done, if not more. This is a demo of the live translation, and it's not very long, so yeah, it's pretty good.
Hello, my name is Officer Beckwith. I'm here to help. Okay.
Mire, vecino, un antiguo carro medio on picture translate. Do you see the car that hit you?
Entre el coche que atropelló.
Sí, sí, fue un Mustang rojo. Fue movió y hicimos la derecha.
Yes, a red Mustang was in this. Moved and made a right.
All units be advised, suspected hit and run driver heading southbound on Bear Parkway in a compact red vehicle.
So just that easy.
Hello, my name is Officer Beckman.
Again, this talks about the policy chat. And then we'll go into the key features of the TASER 10. Right now, the TASER 10 is a 45-foot maximum deploy that it can reach. And there's 10 individually targeted probes. So right now, we have cartridges and we have 2 cartridges. So this new product has 10 individual ones. Which I think it would be beneficial, especially for rural areas where our backup is half hour, you know, at the, right, I would say half hour. So if they're not compliant with by 10 times, you know, and it's one individual probe that's activated at a time. So I think that's gonna help for officer safety. Any probe connects, there's also an audible and visual warning alert, and if you hear that, it gets your attention, the warning or the audible warning alert. It has integration with the Axon VR, which is a training, I don't know, what do you call those? Like a VR training, so you put on this mask and you can train with it, it has scenarios. Just getting the muscle mass, you know, like to deploy your taser, what that feels like. Per state statute right now, we have to do 2 probes a year. So we will continue to do that, but this will be extra training that we can provide to our deputies just to, you know, to see in real life, like this is a real, or, you know, this is a scenario, what would you do? And then enhanced weather resistance, so. This slide shows the difference between the spread. Right now, we have the TASERs X26. So you can see the spread and how the TASER 10 can go up to 45 feet and accurate. And I think there's a video right after this that shows. So the guy is way in the back.
There's nowhere to go from here. Okay, there's nowhere to go from here. Don't intimidate me. I'm not, sir. What? What? Oh my God, I give up. I give up. Oh, 2030.
Well, you saw that, so you saw that deployment, so with the current, tasers. As Jen had indicated, they have 1 cartridge on them, and within that cartridge is 2 probes. And, the X26 is the X26Ps that we currently carry, we have a max distance of 26 feet. Of safe distance for deployment, and it all depends on the further the distance, the wider the spread of the probes. There's 2 probes that come out of this cartridge. As you saw in that video, you saw and heard those probes continually shooting from that TASER 10. And there was there's like 4, 5, 6 of them that went out, and you saw the wires going. So with the TASER 10, there are 10 individual shots within that taser. When we talk about replaceable cartridges, it's replaceable per cartridge or per shot. So it's not like have you got one of your cartridges on you? No.
No, I don't. It's on my TASER.
The further out you get, does the wind affect it?
Well, there's always factors that you have to consider, right?
So are these faster or the same as the other ones or?
Faster.
And they're smaller. Like our probes right now are, I mean, our cartridge is like this. It's bigger. The probes now are with the 10.
Yeah, they're faster, and then plus the distance, 45 feet versus 26.
Yeah.
Um,
Never told them.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Okay. Time wise, we got 5 minutes left, so, so I guess. Yeah, you can keep going. Axon Fleet, I mean, it's smaller than what we're technically using right now, and it offers the router system, which I think would be, a great benefit to our agency, especially with all of how big everything, our agency, the ground that we cover, and there's a lot of dead spots, so, yeah, go ahead. All right, so this is the 5-year contract. It compares the 5-year and 10 years. And I think you guys have that in your packets too. So the 5-year, was it a 7%? So with their inflation rate, they have a 7%. Inflation rate in the 5-year contract, and in the 10-year contract, it's only a 4% increase with the inflation. You can see at the discounts for every single one, and then they also have a 2 5-year program or 2 5-year contracts that we would be saving, how much we would be saving at the bottom. So again, like they have a payment plan for each year, and all they really need is 10%. On the 10-year program, it'd be a 5% and 10% after. But this payment schedule is not set, like we can tailor it to whatever we need. So it's similar, we are hoping that we can start budgeting, kind of like what we did for the radios, you know, how we took out money every year to pay for the radio system. Again, like these products aren't a want, we need these products going forward. So, and I think we did talk to Chad, and you computed that it would be a 0.5 or 0.6 increase to our budget if for the 10-year, correct?
Right, if we, if you just kind of rounded things out, we'd be looking at a 0.5 or 0.6% increase to our budget moving forward, let's say starting in 26 or 27. Going with the 10-year plan. But again, that overall dollar figure, right now does not take into consideration what is paid forward or what's paid in advance. So, moving back to the grant, we, are allotted the $22,000. That obviously would go towards this, and then whatever the board's decision was, and I know it was unbudgeted, for 25, the 50/50 match. We can contribute out of some forfeiture accounts a little more money towards the front end of this to bring the overall cost down on it eventually.
Got a question.
No, they can, like I say. Or something.
You had a list of the agencies and you call them neighboring. Do they have access, or do you have access to all 87 counties, or who's even in this? Norman County really isn't a neighbor, so I'm wondering,
No.
what's the penetration within the state of Minnesota?
Well, we can certainly find out.
Yeah.
Cause I'm sure that Axon would be more than happy to give that information.
I think that would be okay to know.
Yep.
It looks like Stevens didn't show that it was a 10-year, so they must have went with a 5.
No, I believe they went with the 10.
It didn't say it up there.
Oh. I believe that they. went with the 10.
The question, this taser, that sounds like that's kind of a clear advantage from what you're using now, would that be accurate?
Correct.
Correct.
Is that an Axon product, or can you buy that off the?
No, that's Axon.
Yeah.
Axon, little history on Axon. Axon first was the company that first introduced Taser.
Oh,
Everybody calls them Taser, but their Axon is the company. And all they've done over the years is expanded their technology. And that's where the in-squad cameras come from, and also the body worn mics. They got a superior product.
Yeah. And then this bundle with the Taser 10, it comes with all your training probes and any probe that you happen to use. It's all a bundle, so it's all in there. So we never have to pay for another.
Right now, we're under contract with Axon for cartridge replacement, and they're usually a 3-year contract. Where we receive roughly 26 cartridges every year for 3 years. And that's taken in consideration what your potential deployment is, plus the training associated with it.
Yeah.
Because we have to have 2 deployments every year during our use of force training, and that's 2 cartridges.
so this 60-month, this 379,000 with the tax, and then you got it says savings at 33 or total savings, 167,000. Is that savings if we paid it all up front, or how is it, what does the 379 relate to the
So-
167?
The 379 is with the tax, so go up one, the 376 would be,
Yes, but we have to pay tax, right?
no,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so then 376, so how does that relate to the savings? What's the tie between the two?
I believe it's just with the bundle, with everything. And then he is also giving us a discount, of $41,000.
So if you bought each one of the products individually,
Yeah,
Oh, okay, it has nothing to do with the payment.
no.
yeah, so but bundling them all together as they indicate, the savings by bundling is that 167.
And so when I first initially talked to them, I said, geez, I don't think we can go ahead and the first year get 11 body cameras or 11 tasers. They said, no, we will make that affordable for you, so you can do that, because what they don't want us to have, like 5 officers get it the first year and the second year, the other 5 get it. Like it's just easier to roll out and keep track. Because like the taser, they're only good for 5 years, so then they would replace it at 5 years. The body worn cameras are replaced every 2.5 years. And the in-squad cameras are replaced every 5.
And they come on site to remove existing and install the new, and that's all included in the prices associated.
And then we also received the in-service training, which was at $10,000, and they're giving us that for free. If we do the 5 or 10 year, with the 10-year contract, actually.
And we explained at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting a little bit, there's a bit of a push on this. So our current rep, he's gonna be leaving he's currently stationed in Arizona, and he handles a lot of the smaller agencies up this way in this district, but he's going to be taking over an area over by Ohio now.
For larger
departments, but since he's a senior member, I guess he's got the availability or the ability to be offering these type of deals where apparently junior reps don't. I guess it comes with the time spent. And then also the AI portion, the AI bundle associated with all of this would dramatically increase after June 30th of this year. So starting July 1, there would be what was the percentage increase?
It would be a $66,000 more
Yeah.
for AI.
Yeah.
So with the AI bundle, anything that they come up with, like within the next 5 years or 10 years, we will get that, whatever they come up with. After the 5 or 10 years, then we'd have to pay for the extra. So
The plans, and we've kind of been focusing on the 10-year plan. Anything with either one of the plants, basically, there's a constant and consistent upgrade, both for hardware and software, to the product, you know, during the life of that contract. So it's where, I know that was a question that you had, Troy, regarding that. And, no, we never fall behind on the software updates, firmware, new versions, nothing. To the equipment, to the software, it all follows each other throughout the life of that contract.
So if we were to go with this, are these ours or are they theirs? The tasers, the cameras, I mean, so at year 10, when the contract is all said and done, who owns?
We would, so at year 10, we get a new taser, we get a new body worn camera, and we get a new.
Even if we don't renew a contract.
Even if
those
we
are-
renew.
We get brand new equipment and they walk out the door.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was looking in here, I don't know what it says bundle offers their safety plan, and it's got all these things listed out, and that is the big driving expense every year, right? So that's, I mean. I look at tasers and I see in here one where 11 of them comes to about $55,000. You know, that's a lot of years of, and I realize that's just tasers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years in 800,000. What are our potential savings to offset an average of, say, $80,000 a year?
What was the question again?
Potential savings where we would offset. You know, cause if you average this out, I realize the later you get, the more expensive it is.
Right.
But averaging $80,000 a year, what are our offsets to help? You know, we're trying to save money anywhere we can, because we're afraid of what the federal government's gonna do.
Understandable.
Yeah.
What are our offsets that wind up getting us to a net zero?
To a zero.
Well, no, and I'm not saying next year's cost is in relation to 25. I'm looking at
Yeah,
25 beginning of the year to 25 end before you add your increases for pay. And I get that, that's a different conversation. I'm looking just, here's what 25 was at the beginning of the year, here's what it is before we adjust inflators. I'm not saying we got a net zero with payroll that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this amount here.
yeah. Well, I guess if we're gonna be looking at savings wise, some of it comes directly with training. You know, currently we enter into an agreement with Otter Tail County, where we're sending all of us, all licensed peace officers up there for annual use of force training. The use of force includes, you know, hands-on, baton, OC or pepper spray, tasers. And so that would be an erased cost because we now have our own trained. Deputy Scadzum is our taser instructor now. Axon said that since we sent him so recently, they'll turn around and reimburse the county for what we had to pay for him to be at a week-long school. So we'll have the in-house training from him. We have our in-house training for use of force, plus our in-house firearms training. Less lethal stuff. So we won't be having that overtime training, travel expense plus paying in the consortium up there for that more specific style training. The other is the Cradle Point. You know, we would save on 12 jetpacks. It's currently 11 or 12 that fall on our Verizon bill monthly. And that's a cost savings if we connect directly to Cradle Point. We'd eliminate those. That's both hardware and software because we have to upgrade those on a regular basis as well. I'm just thinking some things off hand here that where we would see some cost savings by going this route. Granted, it doesn't zero it all.
It's more of a shade.
And that was, we talked about, you know, the first year or this year, I should say, with the grant and forfeiture funds is it gets you time to get hopefully and it gradually increases. So hopefully we can gradually find the efficiencies.
And, you know, and at our meeting that we had, you know, I had made that comment that and it's understandable that this was not a budgeted item, more specifically for this office and a surprise to the board for a request for the grant match. For lack of better terminology, I had made the offer that, if this office and the board could come into some type of agreement, we would be willing to carry, I guess, that portion, the board's potential contribution or the match of $22,000 for 25. Just so we can get this ball rolling and walk into something. And as I've indicated too, with some of our drug and DWI forfeiture funds, which could directly be utilized for projects like this, we could potentially put a little more money towards the upfront cost to bring the later years costs down when it comes to budgeting, if the board agrees to go along with this.
Mr. Chair, I got a question here.
Who?
You guys, I was talking to, just to interrupt the situation here. Do you see any technology change in 5 years or, you know, in that?
It's every day.
It's every day.
It's every day.
Okay, well, you know what I mean? Why would you go up 10 then? Why would you do just 5?
No,
No,
Cause
so,
it changes.
it changes, it
Oh, it's
continues.
progressive.
It's progressive. Yeah, we're not,
and we will get everything that is new.
Even the tasers, even the camera, all of that?
Yep.
Okay.
yeah, that's,
We'll always get the latest and greatest product. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I have something.
Replacement then.
I have some. Okay, so coming from an era where when the crap would hit the fan, you'd be out there, trying to document what's going on. And, then you'd have to come back to the office after working the scene, you know, collecting your evidence stuff, then you had to put your report together. I wish they would have had that system when I was working in law enforcement, cause this is gonna save on court time, when the county attorney gets this information, defense attorney gets it. Gonna save on court time, I know that, because it's right there, you know, the information. And, to have somebody, you know, talk into this thing and then have it, you know, kind of transcribe for you what you're saying, and then you can proofread it. I mean, the dispatchers up there, they used to have to type every, statement that we would take from people. And some of these statements on big cases were hour and 45 minutes, they'd have to type it all out. There's a lot of savings there, and you can put your resources on the street more. Cause there's a lot of demand from these cities for things to be done, and, I think that's gonna free up a lot of time for the deputies to, you know, so I know it's a lot of money, but I sure see the value in some of this here, that's for sure.
So if you take $80,000 a year, and I don't know what percent of the budget is, but the analytics, when you go to these cities for a new contract, is that 80,000 then it did apply to the new contracts, or are all of them going back to levy? Because at some point, this has got to increase our cost of delivery of services.
Yep.
And how are we gonna
yeah,
recognize that?
and,
Maybe Troy can.
yeah, so we just had a meeting, with the, mayors, from all the cities with contracts.
Public Safety Board,
Public safety did, and it was just this, what's today, Tuesday, so it was last week.
last Thursday.
Yeah, last Thursday, we had a meeting to discuss, future contracts and how that looks, costs associated. What the increases could or couldn't be, depending on, you know, overall operating costs of the new LEC and other additional things, so, you know, that's all I can say about it. I think the meeting went very well. A lot of people were very receptive to what was discussed and how we move forward with things, so.
one, that's part of that public safety committee update coming up is we talked about new contracts and you know, this was never brought up to the cities that this cost may come in. So how we proceed, I can't answer that question because I'm one person, right? But I mean, that was never talked to them, and we can update that. I don't wanna eat up this time with that conversation. I mean, we can,
But they are well aware that it is, their contract is based on our budget, correct?
well, so currently it's not, and currently it's the 3% annual increase
Yeah.
is what we've been doing. What I got a sense from the mayors is they would like to see a percent of the budget locked in, and then we do like we do with garbage, where you know, so let's say this was already going on, we would use the actual budget, actual expenses from 2024. By it, whatever that percent is, and that would be their contract rate for 26. So they would know March 1st, here's what the rate is, and if they have an issue with that, then by June 15th, they need to notify the county that we have an issue with this. Otherwise, after that, we are gonna operate with, the contract has been, you know, essentially signed after June 15th, and everybody will do their budgeting and move forward. That's what we talked about. But that was one commissioner talking to 4 mayors, so they're still,
Do the mayors still have a meeting every month or they don't, no organized meeting? Well, what I would suggest was probably giving each city council your little spiel on this and tell them that's what we're looking at, but quite a presentation you've got here, that's for sure.
So is this program slash technology from Axum been available for a while? 5 years, 10 years, 2 years?
It has, I'd have to go back. I mean, they've had the tasers. I mean, that's who the taser company has. They have been around for a while, yes. I can't tell you the exact date.
Yeah, they're not some new startup.
No.
No,
And
Yeah,
they are also into the CAD RMS system, and right now it's only being offered to departments that are more than 100 people. And I could see how that could be very well beneficial. They said that like in 3 years, it would be made for the smaller department. Because they're integrating all of the product. Which would be nice too, so.
Well, you guys have got everybody responding to a lot of things, the game wardens are responding and state troopers, and so when all that technology can talk. And you back each other up.
well, we have to, you know, we don't have the, you know, it's nothing, no new news, you know, to this board, it's just rural communities, you know, we don't have the resources and the manpower like bigger agencies and cities do, so we have to rely on ourselves a lot of the times.
Yep.
And
but even
we're very thankful for the partners that we do have, you know, the surrounding agencies here, the counties and the PDs, plus State Patrol and DNR. We're seeing a lot more of the State Patrol stopping in now, which is fantastic. Our DNR officer here in town, Ryan Brown, he, you know, we might as well just throw a uniform on him. This is Grant County Sheriff's Office, you know, he spends a lot of time here, which is fantastic, and it's beneficial.
So I think we've seen an example of even bigger agencies need help in the last week, down in, with that horrific deal that happened down in the cities there.
Yeah.
And, I know that when they caught that guy, they had dozens of SWAT teams down there from all over the state.
20 SWAT teams.
I mean, so even though you're a big jurisdiction, sometimes the little guys come to help and sometimes the big jurisdictions come to help us here, so. It's just that part of Minnesota law enforcement is really, really good. They help each other out.
So what do you need from us today?
Well, we're looking for approval. Either a 5 or 10-year contract.
Did I hear you say you're looking for approval? I would be against us moving to that direction today unless we get some look at our budget. This is like any expense, our due diligence has to be done from a financial standpoint before we move forward. I think it looks like the product is good, the need is there, but we continue to address what might be coming down the pipe. To move in that direction today, and Mr. Chair, I would be totally against it.
I will say that, July first, there's a couple things that are gonna happen. Some of the bundles goes up $66,000. And that, the discount might not be there.
And that's one of the reasons why I asked how long they've been in business and how many of the 87 counties and agencies are using it.
I can tell you from just going to the sheriff's conference, twice a year, that majority is using Axon. Just because it's such a great project.
You talk to the actual users. I seen the video where it's great because they made the video,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Have you talked to the actual users to verify claims that?
Yeah, they offered an LPR program, which a lot of our agencies around us are starting to use that as well.
License plate readers.
And then having, like, if Alec PD, if you go into Alec, they have cameras that are Axon that they can know who's leaving Alec, who's coming into Alec. Like, it's, there's a lot of agencies that are using it, and I've never heard anything bad about it. All of Minnesota, the state police, state patrol, BCA, DNR, every majority of people.
Well, the three biggest agencies in the state of Minnesota, state agencies, have gone with that product.
I think they do a great job tailoring to the smaller departments like us, trying to get it financed and, make it work for us.
But with Ken's point of, and I think going forward, this board has to recognize we gotta see contracts of $800,000 before we act. We still have time yet this month to get questions answered, in my opinion, and get in on a deadline. I just don't think, I think the board needs to say from a procedure standpoint that we're not gonna approve let's say, use the $800,000 contract the first time we see that. I just think we need to, if we're gonna do it, I think, cause there's things I thought of, this started with body cameras, and you said you did get a price from VTech, but I'd never.
It was $138,000
Right.
for in-squad and body worn cameras.
But that's something when we talked about it before, I never thought of to ask that question.
Yeah.
So I think, to be fair, everybody needs to have time to think over questions they may have, and then they need to get to you two.
Okay.
Cause we still have time to have a meeting this month. If it's $66,000 we're gonna save, if that's the route we wanna go. But I think that, and it's not a sheriff's office thing, to me, it's a policy or procedure thing that a contract of this size, this board needs to have a day or two to think of.
Sure.
Questions, things that may not come to mind sitting right here.
Well, I think there's one more factor we have to keep in mind is we levied $165,000 last year for our EMS. And we don't really know how that money is gonna get dispersed. We have committees working on it. But having ambulance services considered as an essential service is a major issue. And so to move on an $800,000 path, but also not coupling the importance of that, I don't know that that's really important. And so I also, what you're saying, and I agree, we gotta move on this, but we got more stuff. And that's where I think this budget piece is really important.
And we understand,
We do.
it started with body worn cameras. I mean, we're very clear on that, but, what Motorola, did or didn't do, or, failed to provide, for lack of better terms, was, very disappointing. And, we're certainly comfortable moving forward with them if they couldn't guarantee or tell us things on the forefront. And then, so we, like Janet indicated, we started looking at Axon, and we started looking at GTech. And there are some local vendors for G-Tech around, but they completely dropped the ball when it comes to, we wanna know what you have to offer, other than the hardware. Body cam and the squad cam, because they don't offer the taser end of it, right? They're like, well, this is what it's gonna cost you for A, B, and C. How about training? What do you wanna know? Poor, very poor. And so, you know, you look at it to begin with, and you think, well, if this is how you are at the beginning of this project, how are you gonna be through a contract or through service or replacement or upgrades? So that was not too inviting to us, and there really is nobody else other than what Axon.
No. And there's still a need, we still need these.
And if I remember right, you helped me out, the 165,000 was about 3% of our levy. So 80 is, if you do the quick math, is a little less than 1.5. So it is impactful. And that's why the budget piece is.
One thing I think too is, you know, we talked, a set of tasers is $50,000 to $55,000 with their replacements, battery pack, cartridges. If you could break out, you know, okay, so we have that times, if we're getting 4 of them, you know, replaced every, was it 2.5 years or was it 5? Break that up, you know, the actual hardware of the camera. How many times was that replaced and what was the cost, the known cost today? So that it shows us what is actually, cause I don't know about anybody else, but I read through here and I see so much duplication on what they're describing to be delivered, build.
Yeah.
That it,
So I think what I'm hearing is what you want me to try to break out each product individually without a bundle price, how much it would cost to
like,
update.
if we went and bought
Yeah.
the cameras, let's say the body cameras, they're getting, let's say we're getting every, I don't remember if it was 2.5 or 5.
2.5 for body cameras.
Okay, so what is the initial cost of that camera?
Yeah.
And then if we're getting a new one replaced every 2.5 years, you can say, okay, well, it was $1,500 a camera by 11 by every 4, you know, 4 times. That shows that it's not just a large amount of profit going to Axon.
In the software, yep. Okay, I can get that I'll get that for the tasers and the in-squad cameras. Okay,
We're getting a little long here.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to
definitely.
move on.
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Good information.
and then I just did wanna update that, the opioid settlement funding, was brought attention to our agency and I did apply. I have 4 different projects, so
Is one of them like a DARE style project?
it is, so. Which the schools are pretty excited if.
And Tina, I can meet with you later about the courthouse security cameras. I did a walkthrough this morning, got the maps, talked to Darren. And so I think we got that covered. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I am here to share some information from the strategic planning committee. Regarding facility maintenance department. So the strategic planning committee met to talk about options of how we're moving forward with the department. The committee explored options and I have 3 options that we explored here that I was gonna share with you all. So option 1 we discussed was the bidding all services like we did, you know, we bid for mowing, snow removal and cleaning. You all got obviously the results on that to know the pricing on that. Option 2 was to hire a building maintenance worker and kind of refigure the job description a little bit and adding some of the facility director's position into the building maintenance worker position. And then have it supervised by our current department head that we currently have employed. We talked about, or the committee talked about different options of, you know, where that fit would be. The big takeaway or the big, thing that came to mind was, safety, security. The position obviously in facilities is, safety, security of the buildings. The fire extinguisher trainings, the safety, the quarterly safety checklists, things like that. And so as we were looking at all the safety and security things, we looked at the current department head would be emergency management to oversee that and take on some of those duties as far as the safety and security as the safety coordinator currently. So that was option 2. Option 3 we looked at was hiring a building maintenance worker, currently what we have, and hiring a facilities director as the department head for the position. So hiring 2 positions for the department. As the strategic planning committee looked at all the options, the recommendation that the committee came to was option 2. As a result in the most cost savings with the same service. So in talking with the committee made the recommendation to the personnel committee. The personnel committee reviewed the options and also would agree that we're recommending option 2. And so we did look at reclassifying the building maintenance worker position to add in some of those duties. Which would be, of course, the cleaning, maintenance, and then would report to the emergency management department, maintain inventory, do the trim and prune the trees, monitor, troubleshoot operations and maintenance of all mechanical, electrical, HVAC systems. They'd have a boiler's license. And then assist supervisor with heat pumps when necessary, perform preventative maintenance of all lawn equipment, building and carpet cleaning, daily floor maintenance, things like that. So in looking at and reclassifying, adding, it doesn't change the grade what we currently have. So the grade will stay the same, the position will stay the same. It just had some different job duties added in there. So I'm coming to the board with the options and the recommendation by the strategic planning committee.
The grade wouldn't change.
For the building maintenance worker.
From the prior department head one or
No, the other.
the other one?
The other one.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And here, you're right, you said you would report to who?
Emergency management.
Ashley, can you read the option 2 again?
So option 2 would be the building maintenance worker position, which we currently have. And it would be under the emergency management department. So when we looked at that was safety security. So in the facilities director position, it was, fire extinguisher checks. It was boiler checks, HVAC checks. It was quarterly safety checklists, things like that would fall and fit into the emergency management department. So the emergency management would oversee the building maintenance worker.
So who would retain the boiler's license? They would.
The building
department
maintenance,
head?
the building maintenance worker would have the boiler's license.
So when I look at the facility maintenance, to me, there's the administrative aspect and then there's the doing aspect. And the emergency manager would take over the administrative part of it, right? And then we would have that other job description to handle the cleaning, mowing, snow removal. That isn't to say the emergency manager doesn't help out when needed, but those are how you would break it up.
So do we anticipate having some contracts for some of the services? Or no contracts, or sporadic like we have in the past, like spraying or fertilizing type, those would continue
Yeah,
as needed, I guess?
as needed, yeah.
Yeah.
If we were to do, like not in the past that they've contracted the landscaper, things like that.
Fire extinguisher service, all that, I mean.
Yeah, you're still gonna,
Yep,
That.
to
budget
coordinate
wise,
the fire extinguisher trainings, to coordinate the, the right to know trainings, the things like that.
So budget wise, we'll probably say me. Someone,
Well, we won't know that until the emergency manager's job description would be reclassified. So then we would know the employee part, where any contracts or outside service falls. You don't really know that until you get there, right?
Potentially a savings.
Well, you're eliminating a department head position by using an existing department head.
I would say there'll be savings, I just can't tell you what that is.
If this, person is sick or gone, then, so the emergency manager would allow the snow then? If he was sick or gone during the storm?
So we discussed that as well, and I think the discussion was in those, we know, if we know the person is gone, let's say they're on a vacation. You know, we could look at, you know, contracting for that short period of time. But I don't think we can answer that right now.
Well, I'll make a motion to go with option 3.
I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second, any more discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to chat a little bit here. Do you think that's too much of a workload to get any applicants? Of just one guy taking care of, your emergency manager is busy doing a lot of different things and, staying on top of emergency services board stuff and everything else that the duties entailed, right? I don't know if you're gonna get the right individual that you could possibly do all those roles, let alone have a boiler's license, let alone, we got a lot of things that, that one guy is gonna have to take care of, especially in snow events. And I don't know if there's contractors enough that around here that'll fulfill an obligation of part-time work, but I guess we're swimming in uncharted territory, so what it is what it is.
So if we approve this, then you'd be putting out a,
So if approved, we would approve the reclassified building maintenance worker. And then approval to advertise. And then approval to reclassify our, approval to, have emergency management oversee the department. And then I would have to reclassify or add those duties into that job description.
but by him overseeing, emergency management overseeing, there wouldn't be a lot of hands-on overseeing. Just what kind of administrative stuff would you be doing?
We had discussed, the vendors, as far as the contract, if there's contracts, contacting them. Being the safety coordinator, the fire extinguisher, the safety checklist, things, the higher level type things that need to be done. The overseeing of that.
Do you have any idea what that would do for his, rating?
I don't.
So if the rating went up considerable, it'd be a lot more money for that position then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't really know about that.
One part of that we discussed too, and that'll come up when, if this goes forward, when we reclassify that, is that there's gonna be an additional pay, right? That would be retroacted to today. So let's say we don't get that job, that reclassified for 3 months, we would retroact to when you started doing those duties, even though it's not listed, they've been assigned. That make sense? That's following what we've done in the past with other department heads that have taken on additional.
It's an awful big pile of work for one guy. There's a lot of buildings and there's a lot of maintenance and.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried.
well, this will be like a 1 year probationary deal, or you think?
So this will be the building maintenance worker is a union position, so it'd be like a 6-month probation. Mhm. Yep. What do you have in your motion? Do you have approval for me to?
So what I've captured so far is the motion was made by Troy Johnson, seconded by Ken. And now carried for option 2.
Okay.
Right, so what you read is what was approved, so the duties are assigned, you should,
I can advertise
Right.
and emergency management is overseeing and we'll reclassify. Okay, I just wanna make sure that it's all in there then.
I think, Bill, we really need to keep an eye on this one. Maybe we'll get a good fit. But we really need to keep a good eye on this one. You know, I'm really curious to see what the increase in pay is to emergency management for doing no hands-on stuff, just administrative. You know, if that's a big amount, then, you know, it's just something to keep an eye on.
I will work on that. Okay, that's all I have.
All right, under coordinator. In your board packet was the Barracuda contract. Morse Electronics apologized for getting that to us so late. But there was some changeover at Barracuda, so they didn't get their invoice out like they usually do, but this is a standard thing that Grant County has done in the past. It is the email protection plan. And you guys see the quote from Morse Electronics, and it is over the $5,000 spending policy at $8,442. So I just am bringing it to the board for approval. And so the motion would be to approve to continue the Barracuda email protection service plan.
What's the 1,800 quantity? You can't have 1,800 emails.
This is what Morse Electronics said. The quote that is attached is for 1 year of the cloud service. We worked with Stephanie and Darren to get the number of users that you would need. It came out to be 147, the way Barracuda counts them. So we had to go with 150. Barracuda is giving you a discount for having a changeover, as a regular price is $5 per month per user. They're giving it to you for $4.69.
And
So it's at 150 times that forward.
well, 150, that would be times 12, that'd be 1,800. That's what that is. That's our full year. Yeah.
So then they take the 1,800 times the 469, and then you get 84, 42.
I did ask Morse Electronics to provide a list of all the different services and contract vendors. So we can start possibly streamlining these items that come up throughout the year, so they can be included with the contract. So when the contract is signed each year, we have an idea of all these things that come up for renewal throughout the year. For IT and security.
So you need a motion for that, Mr. Chair?
Yep,
I'll make that motion.
for the 8,442.60.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Okay, next on the punch list here, with the landscaping project underway at the LEC, there is a dumpster that sits at the northeast corner of the LEC. And they're, in talking with, both the sheriff's office and the building committee, twofold, when the dumpster's sitting on the new pavement and it gets hot, it makes indents in there, plus it's in the way of parking for the squads and stuff. And then once the new grass and yard is established around the LAC, pushing a dumpster, heavy dumpster back onto the grass, and then, you know, the big trucks backing up to it, it would kind of tear up that area of the work. So the idea would be to put a 10x12 cement slab there that the dumpster sits on. The building committee directed me to reach out to Jesse Schreiner as he's doing other small pads around the city of Elbow Lake this summer to see what it would cost to get a small pad poured at the new LEC. And so he said that they could do that in addition with what they have on, so it wouldn't be a special project for them for $1,000 or less. So I'm looking for a motion from the board, bringing forth the recommendation from the building committee for that 10x12 cement slab on the northeast corner of the LEC for the dumpster.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second, any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The highway department reached out to me in regards to additional porta potties for the July 4th weekend. This is something historically that Grand County has done. So I said, I brought it to the building committee, and the building committee said I should bring it to the full board. So the additional charges for 2 extra units for that holiday weekend came with sales tax, and that includes delivery and cleanings for $500.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second, any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
And just for awareness purposes, we're gonna be looking at these types of things so we can compile a list. So this is something that can come to the board in the first quarter of the year. So the board can approve those kinds of things. So then throughout the year, as they come up, we can just plan accordingly and kind of streamline that process, because there's extra stuff that happens out there for Memorial and Labor Day weekend as well. Next on the list, when the building committee met last Friday morning, there was talk, not knowing what was gonna happen, with the direction today, about, you know, we've used Service Master twice to clean the courthouse, in the last few weeks. And so, they were unable to come this week, but when they've come, they've cleaned the public areas of the courthouse on all 3 floors. And so, the building committee talked about, there is kind of a list of items, and I don't know, for a lack of a better way to describe it, like a deep clean, get in and do all the offices and public areas, as well as, the dusting, the polishing of brass, and getting things, all done to kind of come to a moving forward level where we're all caught up on the cleaning in the courthouse. And so the building committee asked me to bring this forward to the board, to ask the board to consider a one-time cleaning of all, you know, of all the things. So I did call around to a couple places, but of course, everybody wants to come and see before they can provide a quote. So I have a couple thoughts in my mind that I'll share with you. First of all, is this something the board wants to do moving forward? if it is, and we're looking to make a motion today, could we make a motion to approve something of a service not to exceed a certain dollar amount? Or is this something we want to research and bring back to the board, at the next board meeting? If this idea of kind of a deep clean is something that the board would like to do.
I guess I think we should probably get a couple to look at it. You know, then we go for, find out what the dollar amount would be, and go from there, I would say.
So just put it on the agenda again and bring it back with the research.
So you've had them there a couple times, you know what that costs.
Yes, they've been there twice, one, not this week, last week and the week before, and I believe it was 3 people. They cleaned all the public spaces of all 3 floors and all the bathrooms for $600.
Per day, per time.
Yep, so it's been $1,200 to have them come once a week. They don't have any openings this week. And then there is a list of items, you know, I think it was presented to the board a few meetings ago of kind of some of those bigger ticket items that don't necessarily have to happen on a daily or weekly level, but the dusting, the polishing, the floors. So I'm just looking for direction from the board on how we should move forward.
One thing to consider as well is we have a jury trial starting
July 5th.
Fifth, that's right.
The 7th,
So,
Oh, Justin told me the day after the 4th, but
That's
so,
Saturday.
maybe he said right now.
yeah, it's Monday, the 7th is.
and that's expected to go how long?
If it goes, to jury trial, it's my understanding it's the July 7th through the 18th.
So 2 weeks roughly. So yes, I would like to have seen it done before that, but we don't meet again until the 1st.
So the project you compared to what we've got and done in the past, and
Oh,
Yeah,
so
give
what
us
we did the last 2 weeks was just the public areas and all the bathrooms.
so what do you anticipate? You think it'd be twice that?
They wanna come and see, cause they haven't been in the offices, you know, but there's the floor cleaning in each office, there's the dusting in each office. And that would obviously, whatever the board decides to do, we wanna make sure we give employees enough notice for when they're coming, because they will have to get their offices ready if they would like a full cleaning like that. Some offices have cleaned their own offices already. I have not done an assessment of each office.
Well, I guess back to the trial, I mean, we almost gotta decide, otherwise pretty soon we're gonna be bumping up to July 4th if we delay this thing, and if we don't get on someone's schedule, don't we almost have to decide today?
Right, so even if you wait till next week to have another meeting to make that decision, are you gonna get on a schedule for the next week? Wait,
Any of the ones that had quoted us a contract, are they interested at all? You think? Or would we be?
I would have to reach out and ask them. I haven't been in communication with anyone.
Busy next week?
What's that?
You busy next week?
Yeah, I just think, and I don't know what the dollar amount is, I think we should decide to move forward and let Tina run with it, but what that amount is. We need to let her. We spent $600 for 3 people. For how many hours they were there,
They were there for 3 hours.
so that was nine hours of work in a sense. You think $1,500 would get it done?
No,
No,
not if they're gonna do that polishing and stuff, that's gonna take some time.
That's not a recommendation, but those are just the list of things that have been noted that need to get done.
so if you figure 3 people for a half a day is $600. If you figured 3 people for 2 days, that's 2,400. Cause it's not just, and we don't know, jury trial they may settle it before, who knows, right? But we know Fleckafest is coming,
That's
and then it's
amazing.
done, then it's done before that.
It should be, yep. That's when the tours and actually that's getting busier. I mean, there's a lot of people that come in on Friday and Saturday. And look the place over. And we actually, last year, we had people from the Historical Society that sit on these Sergeant Sam's committees. You know, if these buildings need things and things like that, then, you know, they just wanna come and just see just how our maintenance is, and they, you know, she didn't say that, but that's what they're there for, because they were at the museum as well. So I do know people check on us from Chippewa.
So I'll make the motion to authorize the coordinator to get the courthouse cleaned for up to $2,400. Assuming we can get it done by July 3rd.
Second,
Cause if it's, to me, if it's after July, we can't get it done by July 3rd, it can come back on the 1st. The price can.
whatever it takes.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried.
Just for informational purposes, Minnesota Gutters is coming to clean out the gutters at the LEC at $350 to clean them out. So that's scheduled and we'll get done. Mowing and landscaping, just an update. The ATV park is being mowed once a week by the county highway department. Pine Ridge Park, Austin Hennon mows out there and he does that once a week. And he, was there each week in May. It hasn't been every week in June, just with the weather. For the short term, until things, get put in place that were decided today, at the courthouse, highway interns mow once a week. And they will also, help attend to the landscaping around the courthouse. Next week is the plan, weather permitting, when they come to mow, they'll do some weed pulling and trimming and spot spraying around, the courthouse. For the GCO building here, there's the 3 small areas right around the flagpole, the benches in between the 2 parking lots. That is gonna be done with a vendor that already does the green space in the back here by the picnic tables, and they too will take care of the landscaping. They said it'll be very minimal. So that is just an update. Another update is the remodel project at the old sheriff's office at the courthouse on ground level. There's already been some work done that's been paid for. There's some additional trim and base and door jamb that's already been made, and we'll work with the vendor to get those up. And that should finish, I believe, all the trim work and the doors, the existing doors. There was an estimate for a new door before you walk into the lobby vestibule area for $4,450, and the building committee did decide not to move forward with that. Just finish up with the trim and the door jamb, and then that project will be complete. And then the last bit of update at the last board meeting, the board directed me to create a very simple form that could be used for board committee appointments. And I have made one, but before that gets deployed out to everybody, I'm gonna be going through the committee assignment sheet that gets, approved and done at the beginning of the year, because I think there's some updates to it. And for today, due to time, I think, I'll say that, we don't have, to my knowledge right now, any terms that are going to be up here in July or August, so we have a little time. I'll just bring this, longer update back at the next board meeting after, we confirm this committee list, go through some of the questions and find out term limits from some of the committees. And then I'll bring with that form to the board so you guys can see that before that gets sent out. So just due to time today, I'll save that for next time. And that is all I have on my punch list unless there's questions for me.
A board committee updates?
Do DDA here,
Mark is on.
they just skip to them. the
Oh,
inspection.
yeah. I didn't turn it over.
All right, Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Morning.
Are you guys ready for me to go through my stuff?
Let's start.
I'm sorry?
You can start.
Wonderful. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Goldberg, here representing David Drown and Associates. I wanted to provide you with kind of an overview for those who have not been made aware of what's been going on with the Class and Comp study. So just want to provide just kind of a general overview of DDA, what we're trying to do with this, and then what we found. There will be time at the end for questions, but I hate hearing myself kind of drone on. So please, if you have questions, just feel free to ask it at any point. So DDA has been doing this for a long time, over 25 years. But about 10 years ago, what happened was our clients started coming to us and asking for help on compensation and HR-related issues. So my partner, Dr. Tessa Melvin, put together the Class and Comp group with, for DDA. I joined, it'll be 5 years ago this coming November. Of my 29 years of doing this, over half of it is specifically within the public sector. Been with DDA for, again, almost 5 years. Before that, I was with Arthur J. Gallagher, helping to lead their Class and Comp group, public sector Class and Comp group, for about 6.5 years. Before that, I was with the University of Minnesota for a couple of years in the Metropolitan Council. So I've been in public sector for a long, long time. What we're trying to do with this is to give you a Class and Comp system that makes sense. One that is internally equitable, meaning when you line the jobs up within the county, that hierarchy is one that makes sense. And it makes sense within different departments. So you might have the sheriff's office have a particular hierarchy and some jobs from particular grades, and another hierarchy within finance. And you might have a job at grade 15 in finance and a job in 15 in the sheriff's office. Okay, well, does it make sense? Even if the work is completely different, when we evaluate it, does it make sense for those jobs to be in the same grade? That's one of the things we're trying to do with this, as well as make sure that it's competitive against the external market. And I'll explain what the market looks like and how we got that information in just a few minutes. But not here to do staffing, not here to do an org structure analysis, not here to cut anyone's costs or cut anyone's pay. No one will lose pay because of this. People will only do better. My friend who's the HR director at Blue Earth County, Laura Elverbach, I'm stealing this from her, says, everyone will do better. Some will do better than others. So no one's going to have their pay reduced because of this. So what we want to do is take a look at other counties and say, what factors do we want to include in this? Part of it's going to be who's around you. I mean, we can't get away from that, but that shouldn't be the only determining factor. You have to look at population size. You have to look at what services you provide. Who are you losing people to? Where do you recruit people from? Not just what's right around you. That has to be part of it, but that cannot be the sole determining factor. So this is the list of comparisons. You guys as a board have seen this before, right? You're all good with that? I'm going to take silence as yes, it's okay. So when we go through this, what we're trying to do is find matches. It's not going to be exact, even for positions like a police officer where you'd assume everything is pretty much the same. There's always going to be some differences from one county to the next. So it's not, well, this has to be an exact match. We say 80%. There's no way to really quantify it, but Mostly, does this job mostly reflect the job within your county? And we are pretty careful about the data we use. Ashley and I have spent a lot of time going through all the rows of data to make sure that these matches are appropriate. Now, plus or minus 10% is considered market. What does that mean? Well, it means you could be 9% below or 8% above. In both cases, that would be considered market. That is not me. That is actually a Department of Labor standard. And what it says is plus or minus 10% encompasses most people who are fully competent in their job, but they're paid at different rates for a lot of different reasons, some of which are listed here. Could be your previous experience, could be performance, could be higher certification level. There's lots of different reasons, but plus or minus 10% is considered market competitive. So with that, the structure we're proposing for the county is going to put the minimums pretty much right at market, 0.25% higher. I'd say that's exactly right there. And the max is just going to be a titch higher, maybe 5.5%, 5.48% to be precise, higher than the market. That is a highly competitive structure, meaning, again, you're within, in this case, about 5%, but you're right around there and in a good spot. As a board, does that align with what you were hoping for?
Again, I think silence probably means it is.
Okay. So we had to evaluate all the jobs. And a job evaluation system is just a way to figure out the hierarchy in an organization. Now, every single city and county, every quasi-public agency within the state of Minnesota has to have a defined job evaluation system that they're using because of the Minnesota pay equity legislation. And it's just a way to say, how do you set that hierarchy and how do you determine pay? What you chose was the JET system, which is what many of our clients do choose. JET was designed specifically for the public sector, and it's a really, really comprehensive tool. It has 7 different factors. I'm going to kind of show you what those are in a second. And it does look at the job from a number of different ways. And I want to emphasize this, we're looking at the job, not the person. How long someone's been doing their job does not matter for this. How well they're doing their job does not matter. We take the people out of this. This is the position, not the employee. So JET looks at things from these 7 perspectives. One is qualifications, meaning what is the minimum qualification you need to do this job? Below this threshold, you're not doing it. You're not hiring a lawyer if they haven't passed the bar. Someone might have 25 years of experience and a PhD, which is great, and lets them do their job effectively. But if that person were to leave, is that 25 years and a PhD the minimum you're looking for, or is it a bachelor's in 5 years? It's below this threshold, you ain't getting this work. Decision making, what kind of decisions are inherent in the job? What are they kind of controlling? And what happens to the county if something breaks? Who's going to be ultimately responsible for that? There's a couple of other sub-factors within there as well. Leadership, and if you're in a centralized function like HR, finance, kind of what's the impact on the organization. Problem solving is how technical is the job to do. And similar to decision making, something breaks, what happens? Relationships is a fancy way of describing communication. It's who are they talking to and what are the nature of those discussions? Are they giving directions to the bathroom, or are they standing up in front of a state agency talking about complex issues? Physical effort, how much you got to lift, how often you got to lift it. Mental effort, how mentally focused do you need to be in this job? And the frequency of that. And then hazards and environment, what are you exposed to in this job? It's different working in the office versus being out on the highway doing maintenance. There's different levels of risk there. So again, we're only looking at the work content. As I mentioned, performance, longevity, how long someone's been doing their job does not matter for this, for evaluating the job. We use the market information and the points we assign to the job to put together a salary structure. And so there's going to be distinct ranges and grades within that. They're going to have a minimum and a maximum. And we put those together using the market information, saying, okay, we assign this job this many points. Here's what we think the grade is going to be. How does that compare to the market? And then salary range width means how far is it from that minimum to the maximum? And there's no right or wrong answer around that. Most times in the state of Minnesota, 28 to 38% is most common. But I have done it as little as 15% in the state and as high as 70%. Outside of the state of Minnesota, I had a client in Florida that had 120% range width. What that meant is that one of the salary ranges might have gone from 50,000 to 120,000. Like I said, there's no right or wrong, but generally within Minnesota, it's 28 to 38%. And then, as I said, we use that information, put together a salary range structure. You heard me mention a little bit earlier, maybe you've got a grade 15 and you've got a couple of jobs in there. One's in finance, one's in law enforcement in the sheriff's office. And that's okay, because when we evaluated the jobs, the points came out kind of similar. So, okay, then that would make sense to put them in there. It's not just every job has their own grade. There are 17 grades that we've looked at. They're anywhere from 5 to 12% apart from each other, meaning grade 1 to grade 2 might be 5% difference or 7% difference. You don't want to have it be any less than 5%, because if one grade is only 3 or 4% different from the one above it, there's too much overlap and there's not enough there to really distinguish it. So 5% is the minimum that I will use. I don't usually go much over 15%, because then it's too much of a jump from one grade to the next. And the way I make those determinations from one grade to the next is looking at the jobs and trying to get it to where you as a county want to be relative to the market. You've got 13 steps within each grade. Most times 8 to 12 steps is common, but 13 is just a little bit above that. The steps are anywhere from 3.5% to 2% apart from each other. So there's a little bit of a difference earlier on in the structure. The increases from one step to the next are a little bit higher, because the goal in a 13-step structure, step 5, 6, 7, right around there, that's around market. So you want to get people up to a market competitive rate if they start at the bottom of the structure as quickly as possible. So you guys are at 39.82% range width, meaning you're right around where most places are. Again, 28 to 38% is common, and you're just a tiny, tiny bit above that. So really what we're looking at is for the board to confirm everything, and then, you guys will, in closed session, may have discussions around how people are placed within there and then how quickly to implement this. What questions can I address for you as a board? Okay, let me ask this. Does this stuff make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like you're on the top end of the spread, that 38 or 39%, kind of like, you're not at the bottom, you're kind of at the top. So that makes sense. I've heard from different departments that, that they can't move here when they first start out on a scale that we currently have, that no family can move here at that wage. Especially like highway equipment for people, heavy equipment operators and things like that. And that's why a lot of these contractors swallow up a lot of these good, really good people, because they can make, a third again as much in a 6-month time frame versus working for us for all year long. So it's better to start up, on the top end of, this range, if you want to call it that. So that's reassuring. That's about all I got to say.
So what's the next step?
Next step is for you to approve the proposed structure.
And what we're approving so far is really what's been done, nothing that's come yet, it's just where we are today. Is that a fair statement?
It is a fair statement that here's what you're proposing, here's what you'd like to implement. We're talking about an implementation of January 1st, 26. And then obviously there's going to be negotiations, and you'll have the information for negotiations that's been shared with with Ashley and with the county coordinator, Justin.
So you need a motion to approve of essentially where we're at. I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, do we get a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, any more discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.
Board committee updates, budget finance.
We met with more department heads and we've got more scheduled for the first, I believe. So we're not really diving in, we're just getting familiar with budgets and the communication and the full-fledged work hasn't really started yet. Is that fair to say, Tina?
Yeah, I think it's an introductory meeting for, department heads to ask questions, and for the auditor to, educate us on how the budget works. And then, for the commissioners on the committee to ask questions and kind of just start those discussions. So then when we meet in the future, we have a really good, foundation to work from.
Solid Waste Committee scheduled to meet next week. You're wrinkling up your eyebrows.
Oh, there it is.
Building committee,
I think everything was addressed in Tina that we talked about, right?
Yeah, there was just some questions that we needed some answers to right away, and then kind of needed to wait till today to see what the board decided and move forward.
personnel committee,
I don't know if we have an update beyond where we are.
no, not that I'm aware of, I guess. Highway committee,
Billy's gonna take that one.
My next,
Billy, your highway committee.
okay. Sure. I got it pulled up here. Okay, this is an update from the highway committee. On the maintenance side, finishing shouldering and crack sealing. And they started top cut mowing of ditches and regraveling of roads. And they will be painting crosswalks and road patching in the next couple of weeks. On the construction side of things, County Road 43 in Wendell is ongoing. One small issue with how the city storm sewer connects to the county sewer, storm sewer, I'll call it that, but that is being resolved.
they got that taken care of then?
Yeah, sounds like. I'm gonna make a trip over there at some point and go look and see what they're doing. All right, Trunk Highway 55 over the Mistinka began yesterday, will remain closed until the beginning or mid-September, excuse me. Culvert work on CSAH 54 and 2 for the Ditch 3 project will begin on Monday, June 23rd. A detour will be in place. And County Road 34 by Pine Ridge Park will begin sometime after the CSAH 54 and 2 project. No specific date has been set. And under other items of note, according to the MnDOT Bridge funds, if you want to call it that, we can expect to construct the County Road 52 bridge, which is Harrison Bridge, next summer, since the legislature funded the local Bridge Replacement Program. We won't receive an official funding notice until October or November. And that's the end of the report.
Public safety,
We met last week with the mayors and they were in agreement that billing would be done quarterly. So then my question and they seem to favor the concept of what we do like with solid waste where we don't just do a 3% increase every year. They would like to establish a percentage of actual. So what we would do is go back to 2024 and find out, take the building payment out of it, but take everything else that takes to run that office. And then what they paid in 24 would become you'd turn that into a percentage. And then we would base 26 off of what that dollar figure is. Everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
But then going forward, like in 26, we will look back at actual expenses of 25, put that percentage into play. We would notify them by April 1st. Here's what the dollar figure is. They would notify us by June 15th if there was a disagreement, misunderstanding, whatever you have. Otherwise, we would proceed as though the contracts are, so it would not be like a 3-year contract. It would be a year to year. There would be a defined way out for the county, the cities. Justin will do his thing to write that in there. So does that concept, I haven't done any more on figuring out what that rate is until this board is in agreement with going forward with that.
I think it'd be easier to budget if they did a year to year, like what you're talking about.
Well, right, and it gives the cities, I mean, the counties do it, we're doing it for solid waste, so it's not, I don't view it as a big thing, no. And it shares in the actuals, because otherwise we just do 3%, and then when we add things like incentive pay, they're still only getting that 3%, so it's a better reflection on what it's actually costing.
So, well, and I know we talked about, I'll say cleaning up, but getting the true budget, you mentioned the building payment. But what about the costs that were in building maintenance? Is that gonna get rolled into the sheriff?
So that is one of the things that the budget committee is working on with the auditor's office is not just law enforcement, we're breaking out. So we'll know, cause currently it's in buildings and maintenance, I believe is where it is. We don't know, well, you can't easily go and just say, well, here's Pine Ridge Park, what it costs. Here's the ATV park. Going forward, we're not pulling those back out, but going forward, we'll be able to say, not just the law enforcement, but all of the. So yes, we're gonna have, Chad's gonna put in where we'll know whether it's utilities or cleaning or all of those other things that go into that building, yes. Yeah.
And I think that system that you're proposing, Troy, is a lot smoother because it's got timelines on it.
Right,
You got April and no more, August information or it'll probably be better, smoother to go that route. Yeah. So.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were still on the route the board wants to go on, and we'll try to get some of those, cause we're gonna have to get those numbers put together, what that, I'm assuming that percentage will have to go into the contract and they did talk about removing, currently there's a living requirement for each community, and they talked about removing that. And I don't know if there'll be more discussion on that, but it was brought up and it's the day and age we live in.
Back in the day when we started the contracts, that was a big selling point, and it is, I understand that it's a different era now, but it still doesn't, that squad car sitting in those towns does wonders for how the bad guys think, but it's just how it is.
And what I brought up to granted, there was only 4 mayors, but I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe if they really wanted one living in their town, they could offer like property tax abatement to try to recruit one to come and live. No, there's no doubt about that. So. I think that should be it for public safety.
Solid waste,
Well, we're working on in maybe years of old style mandatory, non-mandatory routing and cities and Ingebrigtsen and so the environmental services are working on that. And so we don't really know where it's at until the next meeting, right?
Well, I've been to Tom DeTere, Pelican Lake and Barrett Lake townships to let the individuals know on mandatory routes that changes are coming. What, you know, the big one is becoming volume based and then standardizing those costs, so. That first initial contact has been made. I think we need to have a meeting somewhere this summer and, yeah.
strategic planning,
We haven't met since the last recommendation that we got today, so.
Horizon. What is that?
Horizon, I'm part of the financial planning committee with Horizon. So Horizon is basically run with grants from, and they do a heck of a job with getting, some of them have been pulled back. I couldn't tell you what they all are, but some have been pulled back. And so we just finalized our preliminary budget for following year. And we came back, we were about 130,000 in the red. But we all talked and it's not a time to panic. They have the reserves to cover it this year. So we decided to the biggest piece was to leave the county's portion alone for what we levy for Horizon. So like Grand County, we get all of our public health needs met with a $46,000 levy. Now, 30 years ago, when I started working, I felt 2 or 3 employees for public health, and I'm sure the budget was over that 30 years ago. So that's a good deal. And does a good job running that department, and Greta is a financial person, and Betsy Mills is a second kind of in command there. Her and Greta kind of share that responsibility, but so that's where we're at with that. We're not gonna panic. We just hope that some of that money stays out there and we can keep functioning at a reasonable rate to the county, because it's a good deal for all of us counties. That was a good venture to go on 10 years ago. Yeah.
Western Prairie, anybody have anything on that?
That's kind of a big. That's more of a question, answering questions that may come, I don't know where we start.
Right.
You know, I guess the one update is that the contract should be proposed contract, it can be changed, obviously, yeah. To bring Traverse County, take over services for Traverse County should be. If everything's still on schedule, the executive committee should see that next Wednesday, the board will see it. Next time we meet at the 11th. Cause I don't think the budget committee has met yet, have they, Bill? You're on.
No. I haven't seen it.
I think we have to get, preliminarily get that contract approved, cause that'll spell out everybody's share.
Yeah.
So then I have one more question, Mr. Chairman. So what we were talking about with the sheriff, are we gonna have a special meeting then? And before July 1st, so that we can make a decision on their requests there?
I think it would be prudent if there's interest in doing it and you can save $66,000, I think it would be prudent. I don't like And we've done it, I know we've done it previously, but a contract of that size being approved the same day, but I think there should be. I think so,
And if they got any more stuff to check up on,
yeah. But I mean, even if they don't have any more stuff to check up on, then we gotta make a decision, yes or no, right? By the end of June.
yep.
Well, and I think probably the most key statement that was made by Troy. When he asked. What are some of the savings with this program? And if the reporting and some of and it still is gonna get back to the budget. And not to see a budget and approve $800,000 in 10 years. They're all good, we have got to see the numbers. And I support it, but not without the numbers, no.
So I think we gotta just make sure, they'll do it, and then we gotta have a meeting for a yes or no there.
And with that, I would look for direction from the board. When would you like to have that meeting? So we can make sure we
Well,
meet.
my only suggestion would be to, end of June there, so that they got time to work on that stuff, so.
And the reason I'm asking is because, next week is the last week of June. And just to meet all the public notice requirements to get things out. Do we want to set, I'm asking, I don't have an opinion, but.
We wanna set it today, what we wanna get.
Yeah. So we can make sure we get an agenda and meeting info to people and make sure the sheriff's office.
Next Friday?
Has time to do the things that.
A week from next Friday, you mean?
Week from this Friday.
27th, you're talking?
I'd be back then, I'm going fishing and.
Well, you're gonna have to get your priorities straight.
They kinda are. I will be gone, but if everybody else is here to pursue forward,
What was the date?
27.
27th.
Well, I just threw that out. When are you around?
I don't have anything next week that's available. I mean. And plus, if they were gathering information about breaking out those costs, the more time we could give them to break those out, the better, right? Cause we don't know, I suspect their schedule fluctuates and depending on how busy they are.
Otherwise, they have the 30th too, but
I just wanna make sure they have enough time to do what they need to do
Yeah.
since.
Is the 30th a Monday, Don?
yeah,
It is.
That would probably be best.
Well, is it, or are they, my availability is only first thing in the morning on that Monday, and you were the sheriff, how are your Monday mornings usually?
I can't be busy, but, I guess we can. For something that magnitude, I think they can get here. They got people coming to court, I suppose. Yeah.
And I can't remember, help me out with the $66,000, was that? What was that? It was.
That's the price going up as of July 1st.
Just seeing these deals, I mean, we went from a $55,000 matching grant, how many months ago? To an $800,000 10-year request. With a $66,000, it's gonna go up, cloud over our head. Without a budget,
It all started for a $22,000 grant.
what's that?
It all started over a
Yes.
$22,000 grant.
It's ludicrous to not have a budget and spend that kind of money for this county.
When would the board like to have the next?
Just do it on Friday.
The 27th,
Yeah.
9 o'clock. Right?
yeah,
Yeah, that works for me. June 27th, 9 o'clock.
Yep.
You said you won't be here though.
I won't be here.
We get your.
Doyle, you've got a personnel committee meeting at 8:30.
on Monday,
Why are you doing it Friday?
or, yeah,
So what do you want to do, 9:30? How long are personnel meetings?
all depends.
Not with me.
Not with you,
Okay.
Western Prairie personnel.
Okay.
They're usually an hour.
9:30 or 10, you should be
We
done.
can do it at 10.
10 o'clock?
Yeah.
And
When we take this over.
Anybody got anything else?
Well-
We'll recess until 1 o'clock then.
And they're coming here,
Courthouse.
we're meeting with courthouse.
And we got a handout, you guys, and I'd appreciate it if you guys got some time for it for the 4th. It's our Veterans Memorial. I do sit on that board, so
Are you serving hot dogs?
we're serving, it's gonna be donuts and coffee and lemonade and water.
way to go.
That's what you get. It's a 2-hour event. Make time for it if you can. Okay, we got, it's a 10-year anniversary.
I really like hot dogs, Billy.
Wow.